Marilyn. In my childhood, I would spend a week each August living with my maternal grandparents. The week was always a much anticipated adventure. Here's one moment in time with my grandfather. It is Sunday, August 5th, 1962. My grandfather and I are walking uptown to check on the walk-in cooler box in his small grocery store and butcher shop. Uptown is 1 block from my grandparents' house, and Spicer's Meat Market and Grocery is all of 2 blocks from the house. George, my grandfather, and I are about halfway to the store when Aunt Lydia, also a small business merchant in their small town, comes out of her candy and newspaper shop onto the sidewalk to tell us that Marilyn Monroe is dead. We are standing next to the 2-story red brick sidewall of the True Value hardware store. I look up at the height of the wall. I'm not quite 8 years old. I have little understanding of death, but I know who Marilyn is, and I realize that something big has occurred, something personal to me, even if I have no ability to process it. You see, already in my young life, I was relating to women and female icons and archetypes as similars and guides and role models. Most young boys were seeing the Marilyns of our world differently. At that age, Marilyn Monroe, like Audrey Hepburn and Julie Andrews, to name 2 others, felt like they were somehow representing how I felt in the world. Not that I was without male icons, archetypes, and guides, but they were not the same. There was more eros in the field with the males. I loved making my older brother's Lone Ranger. I loved playing with my older brother's Lone Ranger and Tonto boy toys. The 2 pals would take me on grand adventures. My Tonto and Lone Ranger clearly had what we now call a bromance. Sometimes I would identify more with Tonto and sometimes more with the Lone Ranger. They were both good role models. They were both good roles because both men had a really solid boyfriend. Fred Rogers and his relational children's TV came along just a tad too late for my earlier development. But had I been a few years younger, I would have had the biggest crush on Mr. Rogers. He would have become my main hero as a pre-adolescent, I think. And this would have been great because Fred Rogers was a real person, not a TV character or a movie star. I very much wanted to be a movie star at this age. This is what I would tell adults when they asked what I wanted to be when I grew up. I would answer with pride and vim, a movie star. I want to move to Hollywood. An aside, Fred Rogers and Joe Campbell feel so similar in my experience of who they both were to me at different stages of my awareness. I feel like Fred Rogers and Joseph Campbell, are brothers in the spirit. So many male symbols didn't seem to have much to do with me. And the Marilyn, Audreys, and Julies of my world helped to fill in the missing places. And with Marilyn's death, I felt that something had left. I also felt a next piece of the mystery was opening, although I did not have the words or audience to express anything about any mystery. I was already being told that magic and mystery did not exist, which kind of meant that much of my well-developed internal reality did not exist. I was able as a child to keep some of the magic and mystery alive through my relationship with my church and my evolving faith, but this was not well supported in the dryness and repression of my Presbyterian community. My mother tried, but at the heart of it, I don't think she knew what she was supporting. However, her efforts were one of the saving graces of my childhood. I will always be grateful for her introducing me to so many things that I would not have otherwise been able to engage with. By puberty, I think she was as lost in the gender variance and sexual misunderstandings as I was. Her attempts at this stage were not very helpful and often felt intrusive and too misattuned. She only made me more confused. And dear Dad, I don't think he ever knew what to do with me. It's true. In the last decade or so of his life, he was extremely proud of me and regarded me fully, but I don't think he really understood exactly what he was proud of or what he was really seeing in me. Nonetheless, it is the best to be fully regarded by one's father, especially for a gay boy and man, and especially a gay boy and man who was born with a very present anima. The anima thrives on being truly regarded. Imaginally, I can see and feel my grandfather taking that almost 8-year-old's hand as we left Aunt Lydia and continued on our journey to Market Street and to my grandfather's corner grocery store. I love Sundays. The whole town was 100% closed. It was my grandfather's only day off, and he never took vacation or sick days. Very close to never. He worked. His store and his town and his little family were his life. On Sundays, he would go to morning services at St. Philip's Episcopal, also a block away from the house. And then he would walk uptown to check on things. On these Sundays in August, when I was visiting for the week, I would walk with him. I wonder how George might process my claiming my bi-gender experience of being a man. I never quite made it to coming out as a gay man with my mother's parents before they were both gone. Irma died in May 1983, George in September 1987. Being gay in their world seemed like a glaring anomaly. I just didn't know quite how to present my reality to them. I'm sure that my grandmother knew that I had the shine, but as much as she loved me, she had very little context for allowing the full knowledge that men did love men intimately and physically. I've always thought that her younger brother, Albert, was gay and married to a woman and the father of 3 children. He was killed in the very last days of World War II. His ship, the USS Indianapolis, was sunk in the Pacific, July 1945, after delivering essential parts of one of the nuclear bombs that killed and injured so many in Japan. The sunken ship was found in 2017, lying at a depth of over 3 miles in the Philippine Sea. And now, August 1962, Marilyn was also dead.